Thank you for your patience twice now. I want to express my thanks for you joining us in person. We understand there was lots of IT issues last time. That's relatively common with the Zoom with the committee, so we appreciate that you were able to join us today. I'm sorry you weren't able to join us last week, but I give special thanks for your patience in putting up with our IT issues. Colleagues, everybody has been around the table. Participating has received the unredacted version. The motion was unredacted by email, but industry would only provide unredacted and printed, so that is what you get. This is confidential. It's not to be shared with anyone, any staff, anyone outside those who have received it today. Mr. Gasparo, when you're back in person, you will receive a confidential copy. There may be other members at the table who have not received it and will not receive it in the future. Mr. Seaback, for example, is here today, received it. The spirit was that it would stay with that one person. So the next time, if there is a next time we're discussing it, it would be with that MP and not other MPs. I would ask today for any questions put forward. You do not read or bring up specific items from the contract. So you can ask, obviously, about it, but don't say, on page 13, I noticed that the chair of OGO is to receive Christmas gifts, etc. Please don't receive to specifics. So we will go ahead with a 5-minute opening statement. And again, thank you for joining us today. And sorry for all the IT issues. I know it was frustrating for yourself, but I'm glad you could join us today in person. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Honourable members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Teresa Perusa, and I am the Director of External Affairs for Stellantis Canada. As you say, I regret that I was unable to participate in last week's meeting that I had attended and attempted to do. I was unable to join for reasons beyond my or Stellantis' control. I was, however, online with parliamentary IT throughout the duration of the meeting, but unfortunately they were not able to fix the problem. I know that you were frustrated by my non-attendance. Believe me, I was frustrated as well. I hope that my letter on Monday made clear that Stellantis has no objection to members of the committee viewing unredacted versions of the CIF agreement, which I see that you have now received, with appropriate confidentiality safeguards in place. Safeguards that reflect established parliamentary processes, which will be familiar to the members of the committee. Stellantis has consistently taken the position that the commercially sensitive information contained in our agreement with the government should remain confidential. After the committee asked the government to provide a copy of the agreement, government proposed redactions, and we agreed to the proposed redactions as appropriate. We understand and respect the important role of the OGO committee. That is why we have agreed that the full agreement should be shared with the members in a confidential setting. We hope that this will allow you to advance your study while also protecting the confidentiality of Stellantis' commercially sensitive information. Thank you.
Thank you again. We'll start our 6-minute round with Mrs. Block, please. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Ms. Perusa. It's good to have you join us today. As you are well aware, because you were watching committee last week, department officials told us that it was Stellantis who proposed the redactions and outlined why every one of them was necessary. You have now written a letter and in your opening remarks claimed that Stellantis never requested for the documents to be redacted. After this committee ordered the documents to be produced, who initiated the conversation regarding redactions?
Well, I can't speak for others' testimony. I can speak to the context and the process through which the agreements have been shared. The context is essentially, as I said in my opening remarks, the importance of maintaining confidentiality of commercially sensitive information. And that's the context that overlays, almost like a lens, on all of these agreements. And I believe that that's an objective that the government shares as well. So that's the context that goes over this. When the government, when we were advised that the agreement had been requested, the government provided some redactions, which we reviewed and agreed again, given that those redactions reflected our business information.
So how do you square your testimony today with the testimony that we received from ISED when they appeared? And I'm going to quote the response that we got. However, and I'm quoting, I can say that in our discussions with Stellantis, they outlined to us for every redaction of why they felt to be necessary to be protected commercially, and we were comfortable with the redactions that they proposed. So that's a little bit different than what you're telling us here today.
Thank you. And again, I can't speak to someone else's testimony to this committee. I can outline the context and the process through which we were engaged, and that is how the process went through in terms of redactions that were proposed, and we reviewed and consented. So essentially, it was a joint effort in terms of ensuring that our sensitive information is maintained confidential and redacted.
So I'm just going to go back then to the paragraph in the letter that you sent, where you didn't say that this was a joint effort. You said, to be clear, Stellantis did not propose or suggest any of the redactions applied to the version of the CIF agreement that the committee received from ISED. Does that sound like it was a joint process and that there was a going back and forth of what would be redacted and what wouldn't be redacted?
Again, in terms of the context of the request and the process, the government provided us with a copy of a redacted agreement. We reviewed those redactions and agreed that they protected our information appropriately.
Okay, I'm going to move on. Another question. Did ISED ever suggest sharing the fully unredacted contract with the committee?
It goes back to the lens that is always put both with ourselves and with ISED, that shared objective to ensure the confidentiality of our business information.
So they never at any point said, you know, these are parliamentarians. They have a right to see these contracts unredacted. Can we present them to the committee? Would you be comfortable with us presenting them to the committee unredacted?
Our objective, and as Stellantis has continuously maintained, any review of an agreement must be done in a confidential setting, and the protection of the information that's in there is critical.
So just trying to get an answer to the question that I've asked. Did they ever suggest that parliamentarians should receive these contracts unredacted under those circumstances that you've just outlined?
We respect OGO and your privilege in terms of reviewing the agreements, and that is why we did propose, and I see that you've now received the unredacted copies.
So I guess my next question is, so do you agree with their testimony?
I can only speak to my testimony and in terms of the process that I was engaged in.
Okay, well then in response to the question I asked about, I said ever sharing, suggesting that you share the fully unredacted contracts with parliamentarians. I'm going to assume that that is a no. Department officials told us they had back and forth conversations with Stellantis about the redactions. Is that correct?
They provided us the copy of the redactions. We responded that we found them to be appropriate, and then we had a further conversation with respect to those redactions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Mr. Gasparo, but I apologize before we do. As we've had recently, our legal counsel, Mr. Bradar and Ms. Goche, is with us today. We'll keep it informal. If you have questions for them specifically, feel free to address directly to them. You don't have to go through the chair or anything, so make use of them if you see fit. Mr. Gasparo, please, for 6 minutes. Thank you for waiting.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Peruzza, for being here. My questions are not directed at you, but through you to your company, and it's around values. And I just want to have a bit of a preamble. So during the global financial crisis, the government of Canada, from a present value perspective, lent then Chrysler over $6 billion. The taxpayer lost over $1.8 billion when the equity value of Chrysler was zero. 11,000 jobs were lost. Plants were shut down. Fast forward to today, the government of Canada lent now Stellantis, from what we have seen, $222 million. And just yesterday, your CEO was in Washington with the president, announcing that they are investing $13 billion in the United States, practically blowing Canadian taxpayers' dollars. So my question is, does Stellantis have a values problem? That they say one thing at one time to get whatever capital they need, and then change their messaging when the environment is convenient for them?
Thank you for the question. Stellantis has been in Canada for over 100 years now, and we remain committed to Canada. With respect to investments in Canada, over the last few years, we have invested billions in Canada. We are increasing production at our Windsor Assembly Plant. We are adding a third shift and 1,500 jobs at the Windsor Assembly Plant. Our Research and Development Center in Windsor has also enhanced their capabilities and added over 600 professional jobs at that location. And we have other investments through other locations as well. So with respect to our commitment in Canada, I think it's fairly clear, given the billions that have been invested over the last number of years and the advancements that we've made.
Well, that sounds good, and we appreciate the foreign direct investment that has been placed in our country. However, I'm going to come back to it again. Your CEO was yesterday at the White House celebrating the rollback of, for example, fuel economy legislation. When I check your corporate filings, corporate sustainability for your products is a top priority. How do you rectify that? And again, I'm coming back to this being a question of values.
Thank you. I can't speak to American policies or American politics, but what I can speak to is our commitment in Canada in terms of the investments, as I just outlined, the advancements that we're making, the employment that we're increasing in Canada as evidence of our commitment to Canada.
When was the decision to relocate Jeep Compass production? Was it made before or after Stellantis accepted government incentives?
This agreement, if you're talking about the SIF agreement, it goes back, I believe, to 2022. And through that time, that included our investments at Windsor, at ARDC, and at Brampton. I know, and you may know, that at the end of October, Jeff Hines had presented at Indu with respect to operational and strategic decisions at that time. So in terms of the decision for Brampton, that was rolled into a plan, a vehicle allocation planning across North America, which continues.
Chair, how much time do I have?
45 seconds.
You mentioned the third shift being added at the Windsor Assembly Plant, which will create 1,500 new jobs. However, 3,000 jobs are being lost in Brampton. That still leaves a net loss of 1,500 jobs. How does Stellantis justify this overall reduction?
What I would say is that Brampton is on an operational pause. It has not closed, and those employees remain employees of Stellantis.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Gaspar. We'll go to Madame Gaudreau, please, for 6.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Well, what a saga. It's a lot of zeros for the people who are listening and watching us. Because people trust us, and we trusted a company that was a prosperous company that had a great monopoly, and it got helped to the tune of 7 zeros, and unlike other businesses, like forestry, for instance, that got peanuts. But today we're saying, how come it took so long? There was technology. Well, we don't really know what happened between what should be redacted. I mean, I've got it under my eyes. This could have been settled right away. We could practically really look at what was the goal and not giving this information over privately. And we'll be told, oh, it's because of competitiveness. Oh, well, that's one thing for sure. But the most important aspect is to understand how it is that Stellantis, a great big multinational company,
Prendre des décisions
can completely,
de l'honneur
on its own, make decisions against honoring its own contract. Because it's, as we know, it's directly related to the loss of jobs, and also non-reimbursable loans of an absolutely huge amount for anybody looking. How can Stellantis possibly explain what is going on right now?
Yeah. We certainly appreciate the support of government for the industry. We certainly appreciate the collaboration with government at all levels of all governments with respect to the agreements. We are honoring our agreements. We've invested in Windsor, we've invested at the ARDC, and we will continue to work with government to find a suitable solution for Brampton as well.
Alors, si j'ai bien compris,
So, if I understand correctly, Mr. Chairman, so if in this agreement, for instance, certain modalities were not to be respected, so you will rectify things, right? Because if you don't honor your agreement and you say, then you're going to fix this, right? Is that what you're saying in front of the committee?
And that is, we are actively planning and working and collaborating with government to find a solution for Brampton. As I said, we will honor our agreement.
et c'est quoi votre processus de communication?
And what kind of communication process?
Avez-vous
Okay, I'll start again. Have you established a step-by-step communication process to keep, on one hand, the government informed of what you're doing, but the parliamentarians of this particular committee as well?
At this point, sorry, excuse me. We are having conversations with government, and at this point, information that's been shared is confidential. So we will continue to have those conversations. Again, we have the joint, I think all of us have a joint desire to find a solution for Brampton, and that's what we'll continue to work towards.
Et comme il me reste encore un petit peu.
So I still have a little bit of time left. I have another question. No, yes? Who contacted? I stopped my chronometer because it's hard to concentrate. And I have my 6 minutes. And at the same time, there was the preamble. And then there's a bit of a delay with interpretation. So I thank you for your understanding. I'll start my chronometer again. So one last question. Everything's fine? Please do not open the other microphones when I'm speaking. So who was it who contacted you from the department? And what were you told when you were told about the motion on the production of the documents?
I can't recall. I can't recall exactly who, but it would have been someone from ISED, from the SIF unit. Is it not working?
Non, c'est que là, ça marche. Tout s'ouvre, tout se ferme, donc j'ai absolument rien compris.
Yes, I didn't understand a word. Do you mind saying it again? Do you mind repeating?
Yeah. Okay. All to say, I don't have the email. I don't know exactly, but it would have been through the Department of ISED in the SIF unit.
J'apprécierais que vous puissiez.
I truly appreciate it.
Faut couper son micro quand je parle.
You've got to cut half mic, otherwise we can't hear.
Keeps.
Yes, who's doing this?
Yeah. Just, we'll allow a bit more time if you wish to continue, Madame.
Pour terminer.
Okay, I just want to finish off here. No,
It's turning on by itself.
it,
And it
Sorry,
says you are currently
we've suspended your time.
speaking.
We'll give you one more minute, but IT, I'm watching her. It is turning on and off by itself. I know. Maybe turn it off and then we'll try one more time. We'll go ahead for a minute, Madame.
It's me, I know.
I'm going to suspend for 2 seconds here.
so quite simply, I would like us to have access to the emails of the people who or the persons who contacted you at the ministry.
I would have to go back and take a look. Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Would you provide that information to the committee then?
I will, yes.
Wonderful. We'll now go to Mr. Seaback for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Do you consider the entire SIF agreement that the committee's been given access to commercially sensitive and therefore must be kept confidential? The entire agreement, yes.
Well, for our perspective, any element that has either our investment plans or product plans or other information that's business sensitive, that must be maintained confidential.
Okay, so the entire contract isn't confidential.
I wouldn't say the entire contract.
Okay, because earlier in your testimony, you said that the government, Industry Canada, made some redactions that to protect commercially sensitive information, and you agreed that those redactions protected Stellantis's commercially sensitive information. Is that a fair statement?
I would say that they were appropriate.
Okay, so by default, that would mean that the rest of the contract is not commercially sensitive, and therefore, why should that not be available for us to question the government on the bona fides of this contract?
Oh, sorry. My understanding is that's the study that you're currently undertaking with respect to the agreement.
Yeah, but
no,
but you,
I'm sorry.
But by your own letter from Stellantis, you've said that you're giving us access to this document, and we can't discuss it. It's to be reviewed in camera, and that's the conditions, right? Like I can't go to a section right now and refer to it, despite the fact that you just said most of it isn't commercially sensitive. So it seems to me that the contract that was given to us for the last meeting that had commercially sensitive redactions that you've now agreed protect the commercially sensitive aspects of your business. Those contracts should be available for members of Parliament to use to hold the government to account, because they don't protect any confidential information, any commercially sensitive information.
The information that was redacted was the commercially sensitive information as indicated and as appropriate. With respect to the rest of the agreement,
but by default, the rest isn't commercially sensitive.
Not in the way of any sharing of any of of Stellantis information.
Okay, thank you. That to me is very helpful. You do know that the other SIF agreement that Stellantis entered into and the special contribution agreement that Stellantis entered into, that was produced through access to information request, and it's actually hosted on the CBC website, so it's publicly available with commercially sensitive redactions. Is there any difference between that, which is publicly available, and this?
I can't speak to the SCA and the SIF agreement. The special contribution agreement is with Nexstar, which is a separate entity, which is not Stellantis, for one. And with respect to what was shared on CBC, again, I wasn't engaged at all in that process, so I'm not sure if that was through an ATIP, which sometimes, redacts more than what is shared with Parliament. I can't
sure.
comment.
It could redact. It could redact more, but it's now in the public sphere, right? It's on the CBC website to download. I've downloaded it. I've read it with redactions. So it seems to me that we have a version of this contract that was redacted to protect commercially sensitive information. Then the rest of the contract should be available for members of Parliament to use to hold the government to account. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I would suggest that would be a question for Industry Canada.
Or would it be a question for this committee?
It would be a question for this committee through Industry Canada.
Okay, thanks very much. The Industry Minister just in question period and in House Commons has said you're in breach of contract and they're going to sue you. Do you consider Stellantis to be in a breach of this contract?
I have not heard that, and no, we do not agree that we are in breach of contract.
Right. And she says she's going to sue you, but they haven't sued you yet, have they?
Again, I haven't seen any of her comments from today, so I can't comment on that.
But you're not aware that the government has actually sued Stellantis?
I've been here, and I haven't seen anything.
So if it hasn't happened in the last 2 minutes, it hasn't happened.
Point of order, Chair.
Thanks. Sorry, I was just saying thank you, Mr. Seaback. We'll go to Ms. Suds after the point of order. Go ahead, please.
I simply want to verify, Mr. Seaback, whether he has a copy of the contract or not.
That's not a point of order, but we'll now go to Ms. Suds, please, for 5 minutes.
Does he have a copy or not?
That's not a point of order, but please, Ms. Suds, go ahead.
It's a relevant question, yeah?
It's not a point of order, but he does have a copy. I explained it at the very beginning of the meeting.
Oh, I must have missed that.
That's okay. Yes, he does.
Sorry, on that, Chair, at the beginning of the meeting, you had said that only permanent members of this
No, I
committee
did not say that. No. Sorry, we're just going to, we'll get to you, Ms. Suds, in a moment. What I explained was, as per the motion, there would be designated people to have a copy. If someone had a copy today, they will continue to have that copy. Someone who doesn't have a copy today, for example, Ms. Jansen, will never have a copy. So should we ever come back to this study, whoever has a copy today will continue with that, which was the motion. Yes, it is. Yeah. We're going to continue with, I've explained it, we're going to continue with Ms. Sudds for 5 minutes.
Am I on? Yes. Thank you, Chair. I can't see it either. Okay, thank you for being here with us today. Obviously, lots of questions to dig into. I'd first like to ask if you were when you were contacted first about the proposed redactions to contracts by the department, did you agree to apply the same redactions to those contracts that were done when provided to the House of Commons Standing Committee of Environment last year?
I can't recall the redactions that were provided to the Environment Committee, but I would suggest that if, again, that same lens is used whenever a request is made for these agreements with respect to information, that similar lens would be applied each time there is a request for the agreements.
Okay, thank you for that. So in the documents from last year that went to the Environment Committee, Stellantis did propose redactions.
I don't recall. I really don't recall.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, perhaps that's something we could ask that you follow up to the committee with afterwards, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Thank you. Moving on then, given everything we've heard, there's hundreds of millions of dollars in public support, a plant closure, jobs lost, and now a dispute over contractual obligations. Why should Canadians and this committee trust Stellantis' vision of events over the written commitments that Stellantis has signed with the Government of Canada?
As indicated in my previous answer with respect to this agreement covers our Windsor Assembly plant, which has introduced new products, is introducing a third shift. Our Research and Development Center in Windsor, which has added over 600 positions, has enhanced the capabilities of research at Windsor, and is committed to a solution for Brampton, working collaboratively with government, and that is our intent.
Okay, thank you for that. So our understanding, of course, around the table here is that the funding in the SIFT agreement is tied to production levels at the plant. And given production's ending at Brampton, does Stellantis believe that it is still entitled to keep the public funding that it has already received?
Mr. Chair, that may be a question that goes into a bit of detail in the agreement with respect to claims and the processing of the grant. And I only say that because you indicate that it's tied to production credits.
Okay, fair enough. I'm sure we'll have a chance to dig into the contract in time.
Time if you want to pursue that, because I haven't read specifically the item you're referring to.
It's okay. Thank you for that. I'll continue. I have other questions, certainly. Can you explain how closing the Brampton plant fits with the commitments that Stellantis has made when it accepted the federal funding?
Let me be clear. Brampton has not closed. Brampton is on an operational pause, and we continue to look for solutions for that facility. Brampton has not closed.
Perception, perhaps, but thank you. You said earlier in one of your responses to one of my colleagues that Stellantis will honor their obligations in the agreement. We're not seeing evidence of that, and in fact, that's frankly why we're here today. How do you propose that Stellantis is going to do that?
Again, this agreement covers a number of facilities, including our Windsor Assembly Plant, ARDC, and Brampton. We are honoring our agreement. Billions have been invested in Canada over the last few years by Stellantis at our facilities. We are introducing a third shift, increasing production at Windsor, expanding capabilities at ARDC, and are committed to find a solution for Brampton.
Thank you for that.
Madame Gaudreau, please.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm trying to think in a strategic manner, business strategy. And would really like to understand the reason, why is it that when things are not going as well, okay, very often you're going to do, temporary closing or permanent closing. So for example, closing Windsor. But no, you're just moving it to the States. What's the reason?
I'm sorry, I'm not quite understanding. It's not moving to, I'm sorry, you mentioned Windsor and moving to the U.S. Windsor is continuing to produce again, and we're increasing production and adding a third shift at Windsor and increasing employment there by 1,500 employees. So that remains the same.
En fait,
But in fact, it's Brampton. There was money for Brampton. So I'm wondering about the sustainability of the Brampton site.
As I indicated,
Viability.
just most recent response, Brampton is on an operational pause, and we will continue to advance plans and collaborate with government to find a solution. Again, that's all our objectives. Everyone has the same objective.
Mais qu'en est-il sur...
But what about the agreements with the U.S.? Where are you in the strategy?
As I indicated, I can't speak to American policies if that's what your question was.
Est-ce possible de décrire les enjeux actuels? Parce que...
Is it possible to discuss the issues? We wouldn't be here today talking about jobs, talking about dollars that were given by the government. We wouldn't be here. So, give us the overall picture.
And I appreciate the role of OGO and the study that you're undertaking with respect to this particular agreement with Stellantis. And as I've indicated, the agreement covers all our facilities, and we have been investing in Canada, will continue to invest in Canada, and continue to be committed to Canada.
Donc, moi, ce que j'ai compris dans l'interprétation...
So what I understood in the interpretation is that we invested in Canada, but my last question is, are you going to continue investing in Canada?
By virtue of, if you, as I've indicated, increase production at Windsor, an additional 1,500 jobs at Windsor, expanding the capability of our research and development center in Windsor, and working in partnership with governments and other stakeholders for Brampton.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just wanted to, there was a headline from CBC News back on November 3rd. Canada will start dispute resolution process over Stellantis jobs lost to the U.S. The Minister Jolie was quoted in that article. Today, before the close of business, the government will take the next step under the contracts to recover Canadian taxpayers' money. This means that we will start the 30-day period of the formal dispute resolution process in order to bring back production at the Brampton facility. This is the start of the dispute resolution process, end quote. So November 4th to December 3rd is 30 calendar days. Have you guys entered into a dispute resolution process with the federal government?
As Minister Jolie indicated, that she was considering the dispute resolution process. We have been in conversation with the minister, with the department, with respect to moving forward on a plan for Brampton.
Okay, and you said earlier that it's your view that you are not in breach of the contract. So, I mean, if the minister's saying you are, you're saying that you're not. I mean, how do we square that?
Again, I didn't see or hear her comments from today. I'll have to go back and take a look exactly at what she said. But to your point, no, we do not believe that we are in breach of the contract. We are honoring our commitments.
Okay, and just for clarity, she said it yesterday in question period, and she said it again today. So she has said it multiple times publicly on the record. One thing that I found fascinating last week at committee, we had the deputy minister come in, insinuate that the minister hadn't read the contract. He said everybody at the table, though, had read the contract, but then later he said he didn't read the contract. So I'm curious on your end, how many people have read the fully unredacted contract on the Stellantis end? Even if it's just a rough ballpark number, you don't have to give me the exact, but is it more than like 1 or 2 people, or how many people would review the contract?
Within
your organization?
Within our company? How many people?
Yeah, roughly how many people would view it?
I'm going to say, I'm trying to do a count. It would be myself, someone in legal, someone in finance. I'm going to say 5 or 6 have reviewed the entire agreement internally, like the entire agreement. There are sections, but with respect to who has knowledge of the full agreement, yeah, not that many have read through the entire agreement.
Okay, and then how many people would have access to even just partial elements of the contract?
Would be internally at Stellantis in terms of the agreement. Again, I don't have that number with respect to internally, because certainly internally, in terms of claims or in terms of legal review, there would be those departments that would focus on their sections of the agreement.
Okay, so fair to say a couple dozen people probably at least, maybe more, would have access to at least certain portions of this contract internally?
Potentially.
Okay, interesting. As far as the did the government demand any job guarantees from Stellantis as part of the agreement?
You have the agreement, and there are various commitments that are spelled out in the agreement.
But not like a firm guarantee? Like, it was just roughly, this should create roughly 20, like, pick a number. I'm just going to use a random number. This contract's supposed to create X amount of thousands of jobs. Is that a commitment to the contract, or is it just kind of loose?
No, there are commitments in the agreement.
Is this a standard contract, or is this kind of a unique contract?
I couldn't say. I believe CIF agreements are fairly standard, but that would be a question for Industry Canada.
Thanks. We'll finish up with Ms. Rochford, please, for 5.
Oui, thank you very much. Thank you. A pleasure to meet you. And so I was just wondering, how many dollars in total have been disbursed in support of the Brampton plant?
Apologies, I don't have that. I don't have that number.
All right. You spoke of an operational pause, and can you define what an operational pause is? An
operational pause indicate the we continue to review the operations at that plant in terms of what the plan is for production moving forward.
How long, how long can an operational pause last?
What do you mean?
Is it typically is an operational pause a month, 2 months?
That varies by facility and by the work that's done within the facility.
So broad strokes, if you're talking about potential plans that are being considered as you are in this operational pause, can you provide just maybe an example of what could be being considered?
That would be part of our production or planning, and I would suggest that that would be sensitive information.
One of my questions was to ask with whom you're discussing these plans, and I understand that it's Minister Joly and the ministerial staff. I just want to note that in the Standing Committee on Internal Trade, Minister Joly did speak out and say that she was intending to pursue the matter as part of the dispute resolution process. So that was clearly mentioned. So within your company, who decides on these, and where are these decisions made in terms of next steps? Are they a Canadian decision? Are they a European decision? Where are they made, the decisions?
I think with respect to our North American planning, it is a joint decision between the Canadian President and our CEO in terms of developing a plan that is appropriate and sustainable for Brampton.
When is it decided then that if plans are moving forward, that you are in breach of the contract and are dollars returned at that point?
We continue to honor our commitments with the agreement, and we, again, are all working towards the shared objective of continued production at Brampton.
Have you ever returned funds when a project hasn't gone forward? Has there been an instance in your company's history?
We always honor our agreements.
You always honor coming back to the Windsor plan, just I think you had noted that you were hiring 1,500, and at this point you've hired 600 employees. Is that correct?
No. The 1,500 is for the third shift at Windsor.
Correct.
The 600 is for a separate facility. We have a research and development center in Windsor called the Automotive Research and Development Center, or ARDC, and they have, separate and apart from the 1,500, hired over 600 professionals for the Research and Development Center.
So these are new hires of recent?
Correct.
Yes. And then how are you progressing with the hires for the third shift in Windsor at this point?
Hiring, I believe the process started November, can't remember, but the process has begun, and the anticipated start of that third shift would be early 2026.
Okay. Thank you. Those are all my questions for now.
You have a minute.
I will leave it to my colleague.
Yeah.
I'll ask a question if that's okay.
Oh, yeah. 1 minute.
Thank you. And I appreciate, Ms. Perusa, you being here, and I hope that you can anticipate and appreciate why this is such a big deal, where communities are losing thousands of jobs based on implications of your business, whether to do business or not, and your business decisions impact real lives within our communities. So I will ask you, and I'm sorry if this is a bit broad, but when you have disagreements between government of Canada and you as a company, ultimately, how do you make those decisions? Is it based on the dollar value? Is it based on future prospects? Is it based on Canadian values? What makes you make the decisions where communities like Brampton losing thousands of jobs?
Thank you for your question, and certainly understand the concern that you have and your constituents as well, and across the province as well. As I indicated, we remain committed to Canada, and we are actively working to find a plan for that facility.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Ms. Perusa, thank you for joining us today. Again, thank you for putting up with our IT issues. I'm not going to blame you or say that you're the jinx. But thanks. We'll excuse you now. Yeah, I'll get to you in 2 seconds. I'll hear from you in a moment. We will excuse you, Ms. Prusa. Again, thank you very much. We will suspend in a moment to bring in our new witnesses. Mrs. Block.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just a little concerned with the discrepancies between the testimony that we heard from the Deputy Minister and now Ms. Perusa in regards to who initiated the redactions. And I'm wondering if this isn't a question of privilege and whether or not we should be looking to have you report that.
Colleagues, I'm going to address this to everyone. It is in the Green Book as it appears. It is, but I'm going to suggest perhaps Minister Lightbound is not available next Tuesday, so we do have some space. I'm wondering if we can agree to maybe have Indu come back and give their side, I don't want to say of the story, but address the comments made today and what they said previously, and then we can review it then rather than say it is an issue now.
I appreciate the concerns, and quite frankly, I have similar concerns. What I would ask is a little bit of leeway until the end of the meeting today for me to understand what's going on, and I'd be more than happy to work with colleagues to see if we can find a solution without breaking the back of the other work of the committee.
Yes, that's fine. Perhaps we can discuss at the end. From reading the big Green Book, it is very clearly, if we're to look at it purely from what was said last week and what the letter was we received, very clearly under, I won't go into it, that it does appear that way, but I think to be fair, and we've encountered this before in the past, we've offered an opportunity for them to come address the issue, and I hope that's acceptable to you, Ms. Block, but I think it is better that we do it like that rather than a simple he said, she said, but give them an opportunity to respond.
If you don't mind, can I ask specifically what section you're looking at in the book?
Yes. Deliberately attempting to mislead the House or committee by way of statement, evidence, or petition. Chapter 3, page 82.
Chapter 3, page 82. Thank you very much.
So, third edition. So I know we just got the 4th edition a couple days ago. So that, yes. So if that's acceptable, I won't rule on it now. I'll ask that perhaps we chat about it a bit further and seek another option rather than tie things up with the privilege issue at this moment. Acceptable? Again, we will send you on your way. I hope your IT is better over Christmas.